Welcome to the Chirosation, where I interview chiropractors about their experiences in early practice. The conversations that I am sharing on this platform are ones that I wish I had access to before graduation, and also ones that I want to have now to enhance my experiences as an early graduate. The intention of the Chirosation is to provide resources and a community that will help chiropractors realise their innate potential. So join the Chirosation today. In this conversation, I chat with Dr Scott Maybank about his experiences studying for Canadian boards and starting his associateship in Edmonton. During this conversation, Scott reveals tips and tricks to start practice in Canada and what he would do if he could do it all again. We also discuss the tone of chiropractic in Canada, how Scott has started building his practice so far, and the lessons he has learned. At the end, we also discuss what Scott recommends for non-Canadians who are thinking of practicing in Canada. I had a great time chatting with Scott, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome to the Chirosation, and this is where the conversation starts. It has been way too long, man. It's crazy.
Honestly, it's been nuts. And like this weekend, like I said, I'm out in Mount Vancouver doing ART.
That's right. Gaining all that knowledge.
Dude. Oh, dude, you have to do like a 100 question test, and it's like you can fail it, and then you don't get the accreditation. And I started studying yesterday, and the shields came in a month ago.
Perfect. Perfect.
God. Anyway, so where were we?
Well, first things first, I'd be really interested to hear from you. What got you into chiropractic in the first place?
All right. Well, for chiropractic, I worked as a dancer for a number of years with certain ballet companies, and that was where my first experience with chiropractic came from. So we'd have chiropractors who would adjust us before performances and after performances. So it was just kind of cool seeing how good you felt dancing and what kind of work you were able to do. I wasn't exposed to any of the philosophy. It was very much performance, they just want performance-based kind of thing, and they never really spoke about subluxation or any of the stuff that I then later on discovered in school. And then when dancing ended, I ended up going to university, and I just found that the anatomy and physiology classes were sort of where my talents were and where my interest was. And after kind of looking at dentistry and physiotherapy, I remembered those chiropractors from dancing, and then kind of did some research, and it kind of really connected with me.
That is awesome. And then you made it all the way over to New Zealand and did all that really, really hard study, and then thought, oh man, I have to do probably the most difficult board exams in the world to get back and practice at home. So what was that like for you in fourth year?
Well, yeah, fourth year. Fourth year, it would have been, fourth year was tricky. I think it just took a lot of time to kind of organize yourself, because those sort of became more important than, I don't want to say more important, I guess you sort of have equally important big exams, but you're writing the exam in early February, so when everyone's at Christmas and doing their clinical requirements in January, you're sort of having to study all the time by yourself. So the timing's off, and then at the end, you're trying to get through your requirements so you can have a month to study for boards, to then complete them, to then, and you want to have a backup plan for the following February in case anything goes wrong. So, it was a bit of a solo mission, and just a lot of, just kind of trying to figure it out on your own, I guess, sort of my experience.
Absolutely. Well, there wasn't a lot of guidelines for you, and I mean, obviously we were hanging out during that time, and I was amazed at how well you did at clinic at college, considering how often you were away. Like, I swear you missed half of it.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the thing is, when you sort of take half the time, you really are sort of like, well, I guess I'm getting all my critiques done in 5 weeks or whatever, because
that was insane.
If I don't, then I'm just trying to. I really do wish it was. I could have chilled out a bit more in fourth year and just sort of kind of thought a bit more about that. But it really was just about boards and then clinic and getting through. So
if you could give any advice to any of the current Canadians who are about to head over, what would you tell them?
I would say, if you do a little bit each day, I found that was the best advice. I got that from Dr. Brian, Dr. Taya, who are in Vancouver. With Powerhouse Chiropractic, they just said, you wake up, you do a little bit, do your 2 hours in the morning, and then just let it done. So the consistency made a huge difference. And then it's more, there's nothing that incredibly hard on the exam. It's just a very long exam. It's, you sort of do the 6 hour in a day thing, and it sort of covers everything. So it was more pacing yourself, because, and know your basics really well. Like doing all those critiques beforehand was really fantastic, because if you know all your orthopedic tests and you're up to speed with your neurological exams, that's 100% on the board exams. So there was
Absolutely.
Some nice overlap with it. I would say, yeah.
Yeah, and what did you find that the college really prepared you for, and what did you find that it didn't prepare you for?
Oh, certainly for the flow of practical exam, everything radiology, Dr. Masanos is fantastic. And certainly neurology as well. All the headaches and all the indicators were super well done. And how to conduct a really good, basically history. That was so helpful. Like I said, we had a bit of an interesting year as far as learning extremities. I found I had to learn a lot about sort of the shoulder and those orthopedic tests, and knee and hip as well. I had to kind of do a lot of my own work through SUSA and using some resources there.
Absolutely, because over in Canada, the expectation of understanding for different extremities and other aspects of chiropractic is quite high, right?
Well, it is. It's a longer program, and they do things like histology, and certainly in the States it's quite different. Like you'll have one school in one state where you can deliver babies and do proctal exams, and then there's the state neighboring to it. If you touch a muscle, you're not a chiropractor. So it's sort of, there is a huge variety in there, and Canada, I think, tries to kind of find a middle ground.
Cool.
So, yeah.
So you went through boards, obviously you passed them all and got through and you made it. How did you kind of explore different working opportunities, looking at whether you wanted to start your own thing, work as an associate, do locuming for a little while? What was your kind of process through that?
Oh, well, I was definitely going on location. I initially, I'd spent a lot of time on the West Coast. I'd lived in Vancouver previously. So I was just speaking to a number of different chiropractors, just trying to get a sense of what it was like to work in Canada, which is tricky when you live in New Zealand. And it is different. It is very different. And I knew I wanted to be an associate. I just wanted to, not worry about having a million things going on and just enjoy being a chiropractor. So I was looking for associateships. I was also took to look at buying a practice, but like I said, that was sort of probably the next year or two away. And then it just came down to sort of meeting people and looking at contracts, really.
Cool. So what were like the top 3 options for you? And what about what timing was that as well? Because I know you've said, which I think is very, very interesting to me, if you were going to do it again, you'd probably practice in New Zealand for a little bit and then head back later in the year.
Certainly. Oh, for timing. Yeah. If I knew kind of what I knew now, I would have, because I had you and Kiwi friends. You guys were working right out of the gate in like January, February. Where in Canada, it took, the license takes so long to get, and then they basically renew everything July 1st. So this is really important. All your fees, you become like, I'm a second year, even though I've been in practice for 3.5 months, because of July 1st, that cutoff date. So for Canadians, I would say your options are either just wait until July 1st before getting registered and sort of do some other work, or build a website, work on your business, and just market. Or get like a really great locum job in New Zealand, stay there for that time. You'll have a bunch of money to start up with, and then kind of a couple months before you can start doing everything online. Like you don't need to, you can kind of pick the day you get registered. And I didn't understand that as like a pretty viable option. So yeah, I think staying in New Zealand, if you got like a 4-month locum or 5-month locum, it's busy. Like I wouldn't, be starting an associateship obviously, but something, certainly locum opportunity down there would have been a really good idea, I think.
Absolutely. And also, you've obviously shared with me the dramas of getting registered over there. It just takes so long, and the paperwork, and then the next thing there's lawyers' fees and different registration things. And
yeah, everything sort of took its time. Looking back, I certainly could have been a bit better about it. Like I certainly could have had a few more things going on at the same time. I did it very linearly, which took ages. And then I think there was an email that went to the wrong account for the legal exam or the jurisprudence exam, which I waited for, and everything takes business days, right? And there's a lot of holidays in that time of the year too.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, it would have been much nicer to either be working or really focusing on getting, your marketing going. Like if, have a website, you can book talks months in advance, get all the photos done. That time to use that would have been good, because it does, like I said, it took ages, and I was very fortunate. My sort of folks put me up, and I was teaching some dancing, but if it was doing chiropractic either on a locum job in New Zealand and then coming back to Canada, it would have been way better for, I thought I was going to be starting in March. I thought it would be.
Well, I thought you were going to be as well.
Yeah, I really did. I was like, and then it was sort of, the end of May, which doesn't sound like a big difference, but it's that first few months is a big difference.
Well, it's a big difference when you're ready to practice. Everything's there. You're just waiting for the paperwork to be put through.
Well, certainly. And then the person that you've contracted with, they keep saying, okay, so you said March, and now it's May. Like there's sort of a 2 or 3 month time I had. Like I said, I could have done it faster if I'd known a bit more about the process.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about, because where can people find information about that?
I just basically had to go onto, you basically just go to, it depends on the province in Canada, but each province will have a different registration process. So basically you can go to the Alberta Chiropractic College, for example, and they have a checklist, and you can just, you have to wait for your board exams to come back or so, I thought, but you can actually begin that whole checklist way before you get the results. Cool. You can't get anything official, but certainly police check, you can, there's certain insurance things, like you can't do jurisprudence until you get your insurance, until you've got your results. So there's certain things that are sequential, which do take time. But having all of that ready to go, having everything kind of signed by, your pharmacist, doctor, or justice of the peace, you could prepare all that, where I sort of made the mistake of doing it in sequence, which was unnecessary.
Sure. But there also wasn't really, talking to you a few times about it, there wasn't really guidelines on how to do it. And when you were heading out of college, NZCC didn't really say, oh, you're going back to Canada, this is what you need to do to get registered.
Yeah. Well, no. Even if it was, I guess, like I said, I think Brian and Teo were probably the best, people, I think, but just having something in a pamphlet, even being like, welcome back to Canada, do these steps. Certainly for someone like me, that would have been perfect. It would have been so good. Because they did mention to me about the July contract. Yeah, they did mention to me about the sort of start date in July and how that affects people. So, I would say to redo the registration, it would have been really nice to just practice, and also even being in New Zealand, to be a chiropractor versus being a student is wildly different. Yeah. And I miss you guys. It's nice to have chiropractic people you can hang out with and kind of chat cases with and sort of adjust one another. You don't really get to do that when you're out. It's sort of, and you're kind of by yourself.
Dude, it's 100% the same for me. I feel very much by myself, just isolated as an associate.
Yeah.
And it's not until I was like, no, I want to hang out with guys and catch up again and what's going on, and hang out with people who are around about the same as me.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is kind of later down the track, if they're running a business and you're an associate, you don't really have all that much to talk about. They'll give you encouraging stuff, but their adjusting's great. They're more interested in, do you have a great tax setup? How are your investments looking? You're like, yeah. I'm still struggling to get this T1 on this strange, or this T9 on this strange case,
Yeah.
So, getting some more time to sort of, I'd say, meet up. I don't know, they call them mastermind groups or whatever, but even just people to go have a chat with and really just talk chiropractic, because it's very different. First year out and second year out is totally different, I think, later on. So.
Crazy different. Well, at least it has been for me so far. So I just want to jump back to, obviously you went back to Canada to actually go check out some practices and talk to people and kind of get a vibe for the place before you got any contracts or anything. What were the top 3 options you were looking at, and why?
Well, there was, Oh, I think curiosity certainly got. There was a wonderful guy out in Victoria, Dr. Brad Gage, and he has this practice, really really great adjuster, fantastic patient base, and he focused on scoliosis and bracing and X-rays, and he had this stuff I'd never seen before, and it was I don't know, it was just so cool to see kind of that working at a high volume. I kind of had to stay in Edmonton for some family reasons, so that's why I didn't go to the coast. But certainly, I thought his practice and everything, kind of how he was running, was just great. I also like there was a family practice I checked out, so very sort of mostly peds, so very different kind of focus as opposed to sort of scoliosis. And also these are all big high volume practices. So actually seeing like a real pediatrics practice I found very interesting. And and then in Edmonton, I think sort of the job I have currently, where it was just a lot more freedom. Like it was a more there's a massage therapist. It's a bit more of a mixed modality kind of practice, but it's interesting because you're kind of getting you get massage referrals. They're asking your expertise is used in different fields as well. So we work with psychologists and massage therapists at my practice, and it is very much, you're trying to get outcomes for people. And you have different disciplines in that building, which is a completely different experience than, I'm 100% chiro, I'm doing, x-rays, we're doing scoliosis, or I'm doing peds. So it was, pediatrics. So yeah, those were kind of my three, like very different, but I was curious about all of them.
Absolutely, and you looked into all of them, and I was fascinated by all of them as well, and they sounded like great opportunities. But obviously the Edmonton one was the one that stuck in the end. So share a little bit about that, because I think that's a very, very cool location, interesting place in terms of marketing and business, and in terms of your individual growth. What have you been up to for the last, starting in May, now it's August?
Right. What have I been up to?
And sound bites, Scott, go.
Yes. The interesting thing with this is I'm an associate, but it's very similar to kind of running your own practice. So I have a room, but and I have a table that I was borrowing for the first few months, and it's sort of up to me. Like it's a sort of total freedom scenario. So there isn't you didn't start with a patient base really. I was there to kind of cover my boss's patients because he has a second child that just came along. And that was sort of why I was there. But as far as marketing goes, it was sort of 100% on me because everyone else was sort of established. And they haven't, they don't have to do the ads in the newspaper. There isn't really any marketing campaigns per se. But the location is right next to the university, so it's on White Avenue. So in Edmonton, White Avenue is sort of one of the popular streets that a lot of people go to. Close to the university, cool bars, restaurants, etc. And it has a lot of walking traffic, so it's got a lot of people live in that area because the university is quite large, and also there's a hospital there. So you see nurses, you see people, like it's a high traffic thing. So the hard side was is not really kind of having a clear structure of, I guess we're going to have to do my own marketing, even though I'm in a practice that already has a name. It's not really starting from scratch. Like I can't. I can do sort of what I would like to, but it is also limited by the fact that, the front desk is the way it's going to be, and the technology is the way it's going to be, and that's not my practice. That's sort of the sort of umbrella. But the cool thing is, if you want to do subluxation and you want to really focus on that and get into it, like there's no restrictions there, which in Canada is a big deal. There is a lot of, I guess they call it, what would you say, more injury management, I would say, like sort of like I'm taking an active release therapy course this weekend, and you see that a lot in Edmonton. Like it's something that people do expect as part of, I'm going to the chiropractor because my knee needs work. Like that's a thing that does occur here, and so it's a bit of an interesting environment. So I say the freedom and is great, but also just sort of trying to find a unique way to market yourself was the challenge. Certainly for me anyway. That's what
definitely. Well, and I think you're doing an awesome job of that as well, because like you've told me a few times, you've marketed yourself as unique and different because you've come from New Zealand. So how have you done that?
Well, that's besides having like a nice painting of the room in the New Zealand diploma, yeah, the New Zealand school is great in the sense that it does set you up with, you do see a lot of patient visits. You are taught how to communicate to people. Like they haven't spoken with you. So I've given some health talks. And also, I'm a former member of the dance community as well, and I know that certainly resonates with certain people. And I'm also from here, so I don't necessarily have a community here, but my friend recognizes my thing and says, I didn't know you're in town, and he comes in and I'm speaking at his business. So a bit of hometown, a bit of dancing, and yeah, in the New Zealand, just the techniques, like you do some upper cervical work, and
well, do you reckon you can speak into that a little bit? Because that's, I mean, I wasn't even aware of this, but that's pretty much not a thing in Canada, right?
it's a specialized thing in Canada. So it's very much, I think there are sort of Blair practitioners, or you have, you have your torque release, upper cervical, but it's not very common, I've found. Like, it's something that sort of all New Zealand graduates have all toggled, some have all done this, where it just, unless you're from sort of Palmer in the States, or like Life West or something like that, it's just something that people, I think they were aware of, but it isn't really patterned, it isn't used that regularly. So it's a bit of a unique spin in that sense, and it's interesting because it's such a powerful technique when it's the appropriate technique. So yeah, that was very interesting. I certainly had some outcomes with that, or just simply looking there. So yeah, that was a bit interesting to me, for sure.
Very cool. So what kind of things have you been fending off the most? Like, what's been the difficulties with patients over there and communicating and their expectations versus yours in terms of your understanding of chiropractic and their understanding of chiropractic in Canada?
Well, I mean, like I said, it's chiropractic is universal. I mean, most people start with pain, and then they want to be better in 2 visits. So that is just real. That's just.
Can't you fix me in one adjustment?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's where you're trying to, I'm still working on this, but it's like I said, if you can get some, I think if you care and you focus and you try to problem solve and you say, listen, I have a variety of techniques which we will tailor make for your care plan. We will find the best one that suits your body and understand that it's a dynamic process. You got to manage fear a lot. I think a lot of people are really worried that they're going to get super injured, certainly with cervical adjusting. So you just say, listen, you show them what an activator is, and you say, if you see that stuff on the internet, that is high level. That's a lot of high level adjusting. Those are people that have been going for years in some cases. So, just because it isn't right today, you're certainly not going to get. It's like going to a dentist and getting a root canal every time you go. It's not necessarily going to be there. And it's more about encouraging a lifestyle and, like a broader scope of health. And people really, I think that's news to a lot of people.
Absolutely. And recently you did a health talk to kind of communicate in the, I guess, your community, raise a bit more awareness of yourself. How did that go, and what was the lead up to that?
It was great. It was me using Eventbrite and learning how to market for the first time,
Nice.
essentially.
Yeah.
But it went well. I had a friend who's a chef, Christine Sanford, and she does beautiful food, so I kind of did it as a thank you to my patients for my first couple months in practice. So that went really well, and I had about 30 people show up on that day, and you just learn things about holding events. Can they find it? Is there parking? Is it on a good night for people? So I have access to a space which is actually free to use and quite nice. So that's a huge help. And there's a lovely woman who takes photos for me, and that's also done through sort of, it's just sort of helping out the community is what she's doing it for, really. So there's some real positives. And and from the talk, I'll be doing another one. Like, I kind of like the theme of stress, especially because school starts in Canada. School starts in September. So there's about to be an extra 70,000 people in the surrounding 5 kilometers or so. They're going to be traveling right by the practice. So it's just about, just keeping up with those events because they're fun. They're fun to do.
It's awesome, because I just wanted to talk into that a little bit. So in terms of marketing, like obviously you start out and the first thing that you think about is like fear yourself. I suck at adjusting. Can I even help anyone? Like that awful just state of fear that you're in for the first little bit. But then,
Right.
eventually you kind of get over that, right? And then it really becomes about, man, even if I'm not the greatest adjuster yet, I kind of need people in the door. How am I going to make this happen, right? So the
Absolutely.
marketing thing for
I
me
would
is huge.
Well, the hard thing is there's some hard lessons too. I mean, money doesn't necessarily buy quality. Like I was thrilled to finally start getting paid as a chiropractor, but then I had an experience with a photographer where very positive, good intentions. You kind of spend your budget of $250 or $300 on just some basic shots, and nothing's really good enough to use. Sort of like there's one or two, but I mean, you're like, well, this was my day, and that's I can't spend that again anytime soon.
Yeah.
And you want to put a website up, and you want to get nice Facebook stuff up, and then you have your friends come by with a camera, and they're doing a better job.
Yep.
So I definitely was sort of like, right, explore sort of who's available and who can help you out first. And then if you're going to pay for something, certainly negotiate and certainly shop around. That's what I would say, because as a small example, I think it could have been a lot more. You could have got a lot more shots out of something like that. What you need that for your business card, or your website, or your Facebook updates, like LinkedIn, health local. Like you need a bunch of good photos, straight up. So,
Definitely. Well,
yeah.
that's the biggest thing for people. When they hear about you, when they want to look you up, they will search you online. And if you don't have a nice photo of yourself that looks friendly and approachable, they're just not going to call. They're going to go move to the next one.
Oh yeah, or even just or having just a picture of what the outside of the practice looks like, so they kind of recognize the area.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a picture of the street, I think, on the Facebook, but I think I have to put it on the website as well, just because if you're in a row of shops, it's like where people go by all the time. So yeah, like I said, it's and having a Squarespace website set up is and just having a good email address and getting business cards, like you can do all of that before you get your license. You can pretty much do all of that before you get going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's more about being accessible. I wouldn't even say it's like marketing. It's just sort of like
People can find you.
Okay, this is where you can find me. This is kind of what I look like. Here are the hours. Here are the rates. Yes, I directed it. Like, give them the information they need to take action.
Basic, right?
This is something dead basic, and it's surprising how much work that can take.
Yeah.
Or if you don't know, you know what I mean? Like, well, do I want to work 6 days a week? Do I want to take Wednesday mornings off? Do I want to come in on Saturdays? You really don't know until you do it.
Absolutely.
In some cases, so it's a bit of, you kind of got to gauge yourself and where you're at and what you need to do. So, I mean, but this is sort of the weird thing about my contracts, is that it's sort of like starting your own business. Even though walk-ins are very much a thing, and I have referrals from other professionals in my practice. So it's if you're by yourself, you have a very clear gauge of, this is working or this isn't working. Where with me, I think some things have been a total failure, and it doesn't really affect it, my understanding of it, because people come in regardless. So it's it's unique, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah, well, no, I think you definitely organised a great opportunity for yourself, but you went out there and searched for it and found it, and obviously 100% deserve it. But just I'm quite curious about how, like, what's been the best kind of marketing thing that you've done in terms of success with new patients or putting yourself out there, compared to what's been the worst thing you've done, which has just taken up a bunch of time and not really gone anywhere.
Well, let's see. So probably the best thing. I think the best thing has probably been. This is so basic. I wish I could tell you like a secret or something, but it's just sort of speaking to the patients as people. Like, you obviously address the subluxation and how to manage them and educate them a bit, but just like internal referrals. I had there's a guy I helped out with the gym, and he's in the gym, and I think he sent like 6 people in.
Wow.
In 3 weeks.
That's amazing.
Just because, and he's not an injured guy, and so you kind of have those success stories. I would say that probably the biggest challenge would have been just figuring out how to properly organize like an event, like having a nice, good health talk, and getting the food organized and making sure enough people know about it and can make it. That is still something I'm working on because I really do think with what's in place, it could be good, like it could be a big thing. But like I said, first health talk had 4 people. The next health talk had like 20 people. And so hopefully, the next one we'll do it at the end of September. And, I want 60 people. You kind of want to just keep that moving because it's much easier to have one conversation with 60 people than 60 conversations.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. So that's what I would say. I'd say best, most effective thing has been just caring. Just care about your patients, listen to them, talk to them, and do your absolute best. Even if you're not solving the problems, then put them in touch with a good, maybe their body responds well with massage, or they've never tried acupuncture and this is a solve for them, or find some combination that you're helping. You're trying your best to get them a result, and obviously keeping chiropractic as part of their lifestyle. But I had a lady come in with a partially torn ACL, so I can assess that and I adjust her, and I was like, well, this is you need to go to physiotherapist for this, because they have specific protocols for this, and that's the appropriate modality. So that kind of thing.
Definitely. And so the students are coming back soon. So what's your plan for that?
I am going to talk to the dentist students, hopefully, and I will have there's a bit of a promotion we're going to run in September, just online through Health Local, and got set up on the U of A website. So if you are looking for a chiropractor and it looks at the University of Alberta, we're on the list. And definitely just kind of get the Facebook moving, getting qualified for lower limb ERT. This was initially put into my head by the dancers at Alberta Ballet, who will be in season in September. So there's going to be September's going to be busy.
Nice, man. It's good though. What I was hoping to ask, and you said it, which is awesome, is you actually have a plan for the month ahead. You're not kind of just going, we'll see,
Well, that being said, also, just being active. I think we're doing, I do this social dancing called Zouk, and there's a flash mob on the 16th, so I'll meet with that group of people. And, that's more sort of the natural, like I actually do it because it's fun, and, meeting people through there. But as far as it's getting into the university and just kind of, I found school stressful. I think it's very hard on your body, to be honest.
Hell yeah.
Professional dancer, you gain like 35 pounds in 3 weeks if you touch a calculus textbook. Like, it's ruthless. So
the calories in that calculus, man.
Yeah, I tell you, that organic chemistry lab. So they destroy you physically, and then dump some cortisol and mental stress on there.
Exactly.
And I think students, you got good students. I think certainly people from kinesiology. So just because they're potential chiropractors themselves, and just getting them interested or educated about it. It's mostly education. I think a lot of people have no idea what chiropractic is and how to use it as a resource and how it's a part of a healthy lifestyle.
Absolutely, and like you were saying before, what it sounds like what you're doing in most of your initial examinations or first few visits with the patient is basically making them feel comfortable and not scared.
Oh, absolutely. That is the thing. Showing using your activator on like a low setting of here, let me see the palm of your hand. This is big. This is as bad as it gets. And also reminding them that it's their, in a way it is their show. Like, you're working with the body, right? Your gravity in your technique on positioning is working with this person, and you can tell if they're not feeling it today or they're apprehensive. Don't do it. Like, find a different sequence, find a way to get them to a point that they're going to have a good experience, that they're going to have a good adjustment. And that makes the difference, and especially if you explain what you are doing, kind of say, listen, this is a side posture setup. I'll say, well, my hip hurts on this side. Then, okay, we'll involve side down, other side. Or, look, this is a seated cervical chair setup. This is a prone. We'll just do this setup. We won't do an adjustment. This is what it's going to be. And then they know. And once they know, and you kind of say, this is kind of how it is, people are much more receptive, and physically, like their bodies do change. But as I said, it's that fear of the unknowing, and there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of unknowing around here.
So what's the long-term plan, man? If you can share a little bit.
A little bit long-term plan. Well, have got to get my own website up with some videos. That would be really cool.
Cool.
I've got my own table, so I can actually do some drop stuff, and I can actually toggles nicely. So that's in place. I'm moving into the big room. So long-term plan would be experience what it's like to be busy.
Nice, man.
I mean, I think that would be, you kind of classic numbers, about 100 people a week, but to be busy in the sense to get good, to be a good adjuster, to be good at analysis, to have better history-taking skills. That's sort of the motivation for being busy, because I hang out with some people that are a few years out, sort of 3 or 4 years, and they're just really, really good. Like, they're just super good chiropractors. So, learn, I don't know, it's so vague, kind of learn more about the marketing and get excited about writing more. And, I said, having a good website and just getting busier and enjoying developing that skill set, I think is sort of where I'm
just
at
being in
next.
practice, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing. You just have to do it to get better at it.
Yeah, just 6 months, and also just kind of experimenting with different ideas. Like, I'm still, I'm not a Gonset guy. I'm not a, I've done a little bit of ART. My thumbs really dislike it, but on certain people, if they have some knee stuff or they have some weird ankle stuff, I don't mind taking an extra 10 minutes and solving that, and then proceeding with all the work. Obviously, if it's sort of bigger things, I can send them down the hall to the massage therapist.
But that also comes a little bit from your dance background as well, because they're the kind of people that you want to be hanging out with and working with, and they need that kind of attention. Like, it's ridiculous.
100%, I think. Oh, yeah, they just thrash themselves. Well, and also, just kind of building up that community as well. Like, I was in a fringe show with a guy who runs a jiu-jitsu school, and so we were talking about health and their injuries, and they have a totally different thing going on, which I find just very interesting. To kind of see what people are up to with their bodies, and assist them do that. So I'm still kind of in that naive first year. Everything's great, and
it's all new and different, and you're just kind of trying. You're just giving things a go. By the way, jiu-jitsu, man, if you can get involved, they mess up their spines. They do the most ridiculous stuff all the time, and they love chiropractors, man. They're like, I feel so much better now, and every time I do these particular moves, it just doesn't hurt anymore. It's like, that's great. It's because your body actually isn't messed up with scar tissue and crap from beating each other up.
The interesting thing I found with jiu-jitsu is it's sort of, when you feel someone's neck, you kind of feel, all right, this is sort of I work at a desk a lot neck, or this is, I'm kind of a normal, active person neck. The jiu-jitsu neck's just really strong.
Yep.
It's sort of like, they kind of an average-sized person, and they're pretty flexible, and they look normal, and you get to their neck, and it feels like someone who has been at the gym, but it's just their neck.
it's just neck workout.
It's just like super strong. You're going through joint plane, you're kind of feeling just the development of the scalenes and the SCMs, and just traps. You're just like, these are just really big muscles.
Yeah.
Which is strange because they're essentially postural in nature.
That's
a little
awesome.
bit of respiratory, a little bit of movement. Like, they're not. Anyway, so they got the gains. They got the gains and the necks for those guys.
That is awesome. So if there was someone who, like, obviously you're Canadian, you can go back there and live at home, and you've obviously got the hometown advantage as well. But for someone who isn't Canadian, say like for myself, for example, like, what would you recommend me do if I wanted to sit boards and look for a place to practice and go through that process?
Step one for people wanting to come to Canada, if you're out of the school, I would skip Part A of the Canadian boards by working for 3 years. That's
Oh,
what
really?
I would do. I'd say so. Sure, you'd have some saving. Your debts would be down. You'd have some experience. So you're an easier hire. You'd have a better understanding of the business aspect. So if you wanted to buy a practice, you'd already have your branding ready to go. You'd have some capital to bring over. It's much easier to move if you have, $25,000 behind you. So I would say taking that time to really develop portable skill sets, like your talks are portable, your website's portable. If you like TRT or any kind of equipment or gear you have that's portable, that would be all up there. So that's what I would say. And then it's just part B and C, which is a one plane ticket, one stop and done. Yeah, that's what I would say. If it's like, right, I'm freshly graduated, I'd like to get to Canada as soon as I can, then you got to do part A. So there's obviously lag time with that, right? You got to wait 6 months. You have to study a lot more material. Fresh out of school is going to be much easier. It's amazing, I think, how quickly that sort of basic science information is going to leave. Certainly there's some there with obviously the neuro and the ortho and having clinical experience, but that's really more for parts B and C. And certainly depending upon how much radiology you do in your practice. Like in Canada, on most chiropractors, I think it's $125,000 to set up digital x-rays. So unless you're a really established practice or you just have a ton of money, it really isn't like a financially feasible thing out of the gate, I think, for most people. So in that case, you refer out for a lot of your radiology stuff, and it goes through a radiologist, and films are done through the public system, which is entirely not entirely, but pretty different. And so there's the differences. I would say take the time, build up what you can bring, and then just sit parts B and C on a single plane ticket, and you're on your way.
That is awesome. And then, what's been really, really interesting for me, because I haven't had this chat with you before, it sounds like your experience is pretty parallel to mine. You're just in a different location. You're kind of doing all the similar things. You're going through the same ups and downs and trying to figure it out and trying to figure out who you are as a chiropractor, so trying a bunch of different stuff and just seeing what works.
And I think it's interesting because there's no clear patient base yet. Everyone's, I saw the scoliosis guy who was high volume and had this amazing thing, and then there's the pediatrics practice, but I sort of, I asked them, I was like, well, how'd you guys get here? They're like, well, it kind of happened over the course of a few years, and I got interested in this technique, and then I just did more of this technique, where I'm sort of still exploring. Like, I have, you kind of see a huge mixed range of people. And sometimes my stuff resonates really well, and other times it really doesn't. It's very personal with what people respond with. So, yeah, I don't know. That's still in progress.
Absolutely, man. Well, we are all in progress. Thank you so much for being on the Chirosation, Scott. I super appreciate it. Awesome conversation. Really, really interesting insight into what it's like in the Canada and the experiences over there.
Oh, certainly, Ben. It's my pleasure. It's so good to chat to you.
Always good. Always good.
Yeah, year one, I tell you, it's a lot of. I think we'll kind of look back, and even a year from now, just be like, why didn't we know these things?
It's so true. So true.
Anyway, this is why we have the Chirostation, so people can get some insight into what it is like to be first year. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Been a pleasure, man. We have to do this again.
Absolutely.
Again, thank you so much for all the support, and I really appreciate receiving all those wonderful messages. For the resources mentioned in this episode, please check out the show notes or send me a message and I'll add them to the website. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and leave a comment on Facebook. Now go out there and start a Chirosation today.